There is a verse, Colossians 4:2 says, devote yourselves to prayer, being watchful and thankful. So there's 10 ways to devote yourself. This is going to be really practical. And for some of you, this might be, I can do that. For some of you, I already do that. One of the things we never ever do for the most part is actually listen in prayer. Like some people will say, well, I never hear God talking to me. I never heard anything. My prayers hit the ceiling, blah, blah, blah. Well, do you listen? Or are you the only one ever talking? Pray the way God wired you. Well, sometimes I think everyone thinks there's like one way to pray. You got to sit down, close your eyes, fold your hands, and go. And that is a way. It's a good way. But maybe that's not the way God wired you all the time. Or here's what I do. It works for me now. I make a list before I pray, and then I pray through that list. It keeps me focused. Pray the way God's wired you. Pray into your distractions. So let's say you're praying, and all of a sudden you're like, mashed potatoes. You smell the mashed potatoes. Right there, thank God for mashed potatoes. Boom. Or you're like, I got a track meet today. I'm going to run fast. Thank God for track. Thank God for running. Or maybe it's a bad thing. Or maybe you said something bad, or maybe you're thinking about something bad, or maybe there's a sin. Ask God to forgive you for that sin. Don't always bring your agenda to prayer. What I mean by that is you can definitely ask God for things. That's part of prayer. The Bible literally says you can bother him with some prayers. But if you come to God with, this is what I want you and need you to do, and that's all I'm going to this prayer with, you don't ever let God kind of move the table on you and do what he wants to do. You have to be open to both. Pray like David. Like, don't be shy. One of my favorite Psalms, 13. Listen to this. This is David. It says this. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? How long is the enemy going to triumph over me? Look at, this is verse 3. Look on me and answer me, Lord my God. That's boldness. You're talking to the God of the universe, but he's not afraid. He's honest. He's bold. The way to really develop a prayer life is to not do it by yourself. Because there's friendship. There's, hey, how's it going? There's accountability. I don't even like that word. There's encouragement, probably better. Right? Don't pray alone. Like Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, so I'm sure you talked about this a couple weeks ago before Easter. He's literally, he doesn't need any help. He's God. But when he's dealing with something, what does he do? He brings his disciples in with him. He brings friends with. Now, Jesus did not need help. But he wanted people there. And if the God of the universe wants people there, we should want people with us when we pray. Train yourself to pray. This is the habits coming. Stop trying to pray. Train to pray. There's a difference. Trying is like, I'll try. Reminds me of Luke, where Yoda's like, do or do not. Sorry. There is no try. You need to train yourself. There's a method. Like if you're training to race, you're training to fight, there's a passion behind it. Trying is like, oh, I'll give it a try. Don't beat yourself up when it doesn't work well. It's okay. You're going to fail. It's going to be a struggle. It might take months, years, but you're training. Right? Do you step up and run a marathon tomorrow? You couldn't. Promise you couldn't. I've done one. It did not go well. And I trained. Tell people you prayed for them. This is one of my pet peeves when people say, I'm going to pray for you. And you never do. It's a great line. It's a beautiful line. But how often do you say that and never do it? So flip it. Pray for the person and then tell them you prayed for them. God answers prayers. You got to believe that. You got to own it. But sometimes not in the way you want. I know sometimes we want a yes and it's great when we get it. Sometimes no's are even okay because at least we know. But most of the time we sit in this middle world where we don't get no answers. And that gets really, really frustrating. But sometimes we brought our agenda to prayer. And sometimes the answer is not yet. Sometimes it's something completely different. Like that wasn't the answer I wanted. I wanted yes or no. But how do I know what I want?